What's happening? It's your man Marv Creates, and welcome to my channel where every day is the perfect day to create. I just wanted to take a brief moment to chime in about 2819 Church. And if you haven't been plugged in, 2819 Church is a church in Atlanta, Georgia, pastored by Phillip Mitchell, that has really seen a lot of growth this year. And last week, there was a service where he was speaking of the fact that their building, which is a school building, that they would be seeing some sort of evacuation or eviction, if you will, due to their rapid growth. And that area is just, I guess, not able to handle the traffic and everything that comes with that level of growth and that amount of people on a particular Sunday or on every Sunday. And so they find themselves in a spot where they need to get a new building. And so there was this uproar last week, and he's kind of clarified it today. If you're watching the service now, or if you've watched it, where he addressed some of the backlash, and we'll talk about that later. But look, this, like I said in the video title, is my take on 2819 Church, and I'm not gonna make you wait for that. I'm gonna tell you straight out, 2819 is fire, dog. It's fire. It's a fire church. It's a pastor that's on fire. And if you've spent any amount of time watching their service, particularly the sermons by Pastor Mitchell, fire, and I gotta say, I saw the clips floating around for a long time. I watched a sermon or two here or there, months back, maybe a year back. And I really hadn't delved into it. But once I delved into it and started watching the videos, I was locked in. I watched one, and then I watched two, and then I watched 3 and 4 and 5. And I was just like, man, this guy is really preaching from the word. And the difference is that he was authentically himself, and it spoke to me, just as a black man coming from where I'm from, speaking how I speak, and him being from New York and having that raw edge to him, but also not being compromising in the scripture and being passionate about that really spoke to me, and it really just struck me as very, very biblical. I mean, his main thing is he wants to stick to the scriptures. He preaches it line for line. They were doing a series in Matthew, very powerful if you haven't checked it out. But my take is that 2819 is fire. They stick to the word. There's a lot of passion and zeal for the Lord. And that's my overarching take. Like I said, there's been some takes on the internet and especially this past week after their service last week, because a lot of people were like, oh, he's begging for money. People don't go in for context. And I really wouldn't even be doing this take if it wasn't for the fact that I've listened to a ton of the messages and have really, in my discernment, truly felt that this was a move of God. This is a house of God, a body that really is striving to do things God's way. And to add to that, Pastor Mitchell has never come off as anyone who has been money hungry, or he doesn't even talk about money. He even specifically said that, hey, I don't deal with money. It's been a fault of mine almost that I am so unfocused on money. I just want to preach the word. And so he talks about that a lot. So if you have that context, or if you've watched it all, you know that. And he said this, if you look at his message today, he said that you can't find a video on me manipulating people for dollars. And I found that to be true. I mean, it was very evident in watching it. This is not to take up for him. This is just to a raw, honest, view of what I've seen from him. And so it really, when I saw the backlash this past week that was spinning it as he was asking for money, and he must have been a bad steward over the money, and he clarified that. So just go watch that message. I'm not going to get into that today, but the message that they will post today should have that on there unless they don't leave it up. But, so there was a lot of takes, and some takes, about him because of his style is kind of raw. And there was this one message, and he said something, and I won't go really into what he said. Maybe you'll come across it if you watch the videos. But people said it was too strong language, and there were some opinions on that, and you have your opinions on that. That's fine. We all sharpen each other through our views of things and our perspectives and talking through things. I, for one, though, did not take any offense or any problem with what he said that day. Matter of fact, I'm just going to say it like this. His main point was that we as believers need to stop placing pastors on a pedestal. We need to stop placing their sermons above the word. We need to read for ourselves, and we really need to stop hanging on to these people and idolizing these pastors and things of that nature. And in saying that, he said we need to stop swinging from the testicles of these pastors. And that's what he said verbatim. He said, and he was like, yeah, and he doubled down like, yeah, I said that. And then I wish I knew the young lady's YouTube name, but she does great content. And if I can find her, I'll link her in the comments below, and so that you can check her out too. But she speaks on a lot of, spiritual things, churches, pastors, perspectives, and I really like her content. She gives a lot of pushback and things of that nature, which is necessary. But she was one of the ones that kind of took a little offense, or maybe not even offense, but she thought that was not the best way to approach it. But I, for one, feel like we in the church have become too scared of language sometimes. And I don't mean bad language. There are some things that should not be said from the pulpit and things of that nature. But I think we've become too scared of language, words that are in textbooks or that are like that particular word, which is part of the human anatomy, things of that nature. And I understand, don't get me wrong, I understand that perspective, but I, for one, personally didn't see anything wrong with it. And I, for one, know that I feel that we sometimes need more fire than we get. We need a more raw, vernacular, or just not even vernacular. We just need a more a courage to be more straightforward sometimes. And to me, I didn't think that was something that rubbed me the wrong way at all. It was just something that he said that kind of was in a strong way. And sometimes I think more fire is needed. So a little bit of fire is good. That's just my opinion. And I respect yours if it's different. But, so there's been, obviously takes on 2819, his style of preaching. And there's been a lot of praise as well. So some praise, some hate, some pushback. It's what you expect anytime a church grows and things of that nature. But my opinion is that 2819 is a fire church and that it's worth the listen, especially if you're incapacitated or you're looking for a church home at the moment and you just need a good word to inspire you to cultivate your own relationship with Christ and get into the word for yourself. And so I for one, as it pertains to 2019, I've been bolstered by it. I've been bolstered by the church from afar, but I've been bolstered by it. I've been challenged. I've been both inspired and refreshed, and especially refreshed in my view of God, because the thing I like the most about 2019 church is the emphasis they place on reverence of God and fear of God, and that we aren't necessarily trembling, but we understand who God is, and God is not to be played with or to be mocked, or we're not to feel like we can take advantage of him or do whatever we want to do or ignore what he tells us to do or make him just a footnote in our lives and live the life we want to. And things of that nature, but we should really have a high view of God. We should see him high and lifted up. We should read the scriptures and meditate and get heavenly visions on the power of him, the beauty of him, the holiness of him, who he truly is. He is love, but he also, in the word, it tells us it is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the true and living God. Like he is the real deal. He's the raw deal. Like he's not to be played with or to be viewed in a low way. And because, and I really feel that how you view God touches every area of your life. It touches what you will and won't do. It touches how you treat other people when you honor other people, because you view people, if you have a high view of God, as his craftsmanship, as his creation, as people who are loved by him and honored by him. So you don't just treat people any way. You view your sin in a different way because you know that he hates it. And so your view of God really touches every area of your life, And lastly, I'll say this. I really feel you can get a bubblegum message anywhere, you know, and I like the fire and the, you know, the solemn nature a little bit, you know, the seriousness with which God is taken in that body, which is spearheaded by the pastor, of course. And it's just refreshing, and it's just something that I think is necessary, because especially in a world where God is increasingly taken as, oh, I can profess that I believe, but I can live how I want. I can profess that I believe, but I really don't do anything day to day, or God is not on my mind, or when I'm in my actions, it doesn't show that I honor God, or I'm looking to filter everything through the lens of how he feels about it. And I just think you can get a bubblegum message everywhere. You can get a motivational message everywhere. And don't get me wrong, the messages are motivating, but I think in the right way at 2819. And you can get a bubblegum kind of soft message anywhere, including outside of the church, that may line up with biblical principles, but it's not everywhere that you can get a real fire word, a real passion and zeal for God and who he is, and looking to do everything in life based on that. And so because of that, I've said this 100 times in this video, but I feel that 2019 is a fire church. I really do like Pastor Mitchell. I really do admire his courage, his zeal, his focus on prayer, and his willingness to be vulnerable and accountable. And so if you haven't checked out 2819 Church, take some time to do it. If you have, leave your comments below. And thank you for tuning in. You know, that's all I have for now. I'm going to catch y'all in the next video. But until then, I'm gone.